Hello again, this is Douglas Lucky Larson on the Retire Early and Often channel, and today we are talking about home price predictions for 2022. CoreLogic versus Zillow. Who's going to get it right and who's going to get it wrong? So, in this corner, we have CoreLogic, the challenger. And in this corner, we have the heavyweight champion of the world defending their title, Zillow. Are you ready to rumble? Okay, sorry about that overhyped intro. Let's take a look at these expectations and maybe why they're different, and then try to predict which prediction could actually be right. Let's read some of these headlines. CoreLogic US, home price index growth, percentage change, annual rate. They are expecting 6% increase in price. Now, again, a lot of times you'll hear, oh, we're expecting a 10% increase in home sales. And a lot of people assume home sales is home price. No, that's number. Or sometimes they'll say we expect a 10% reduction in home sales. But home sales are not home price. There's a lot of problems with home sales right now simply because there's not enough inventory to be sold and the demand is high. So you can have prices go up when there are less sales. In fact, that happens very often because people buy up existing inventory and there's fewer homes and more bidders. So keep that in mind. But this is home price, and we've got it right here, price. So with less demand, we expect homes listed for sale be on the market a bit longer with fewer competing bidders, which should moderate price growth. CoreLogic home price index forecast, blah, 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 blah. It should be about 6% in 2022. Okay, they talk a little bit about rent growth, and it's been ugly. And they say that it's projected to slow as additional rentals enter the market. You know, we've got household formation, we've got in-migration from other countries. We still have decent birth rates, and millennials are starting to, form households and buy homes. So I don't know how they think that additional rentals are going to enter the market that aren't already going to be spoken for. So anyway, while we expect home purchase originations to rise, the higher mortgage rates will reduce refinance originations and alter its composition. Refinance, blah, 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 blah. Moving on, employment and income growth should continue to keep delinquencies at a very low level. And they say there should be more as the CARES Act forbearance programs will likely result in a rise in distressed sales, but this increase will be small. I believe that from what I've seen. Very small increase. All right, and Zillow in the other corner. What do they have to offer? Their Zillow Home Value Index predicts 16.4% increase in 1 year. Wow, that's a lot different from the 6%. So let's read a little bit here. The typical home value of homes in the United States. And okay, let's be honest. Is there really a typical home value in the United States? No, there is not. Every market is local. Every market is different. $320,000 wouldn't buy you a doghouse in Southern California, in New York City, in Honolulu. Not even close. But $320,000 will buy you quite a nice place in maybe Alabama. I've heard Huntsville is looking pretty good right now. They got relatively low prices, and you can get a lot of house, and it's projected to grow a lot there this year. This value is seasonally adjusted and only includes the middle price tier of homes, blah, 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 blah. They're not taking in the extremes on either side. United States home values have gone up 19.6%, and over here, CoreLogic had said 15% last year, and Zillow is saying 19.6%. But Zillow predicts that they will rise 16.4% in the next year. Wow. So, who are you more likely to believe, CoreLogic or Zillow? Now, at first glance, some people say Zillow. Well, they sure got things wrong with their home buying, their iBuyer program last year, and they were a laughing stock on the stock exchange with that. Yes and no. So, one of the things that they got wrong with their iBuyer program was they grossly underestimated supply chain issues and trying to find contractors and how much it was going to cost to rehab homes. And it was just not a great business model because it is really hard to flip homes at scale, let alone do it remotely, let alone do it when all the prices of your materials and labor and everything else are going up exponentially. So yeah, they didn't do a great job of that. But I think they've done a pretty good job of forecasting things. And again, who are you more likely to believe? And why does it matter? Well, when the predictions are 10% apart, right? 6% versus 16%, that's a big difference. On a $400,000 home, that's $40,000 difference, and that could be a really big motivator for a person one way or another. Now, I actually decided to dig a little deeper than the usual, clickbait headlines out there and find out who got it right last year between CoreLogic and Zillow. So let's turn to the next slide. Now, who did a better job forecasting prices for 2021 back in 2020? Let's take a look a little closer here. CoreLogic said, and this was in June, I covered it up there, June of 2020. Home prices holding steady despite initial concerns. CoreLogic reports that home price acceleration continued in April, but a decline is looming. Now, granted, there were a lot of unknowns when they did this report back in June, the summer of 2020. All right, we'll give them that. There were still a lot of unknowns about COVID and lockdowns and, the spread and all that kind of stuff and where people were moving to and from. But I could see anecdotally in Utah and San Diego, where I spend most of my time, some of the trends that should have been obvious for CoreLogic, but here they go. The HPI forecast predicts the U.S. index will fall 1.3% from April 2020 to April 2021. After 9 years of annual price gains, 2021 is forecast to post an annual price decline. Can you believe that? They predicted a decline in home prices. A lot of people were nervous, but I would have thought with all of their resources, they could have done a better job predicting than that. They were very wrong. Yeah, I love this graph. When you can look this up, HPI forecast, up through April of 2021. And here's this little tail over here. A drop. Yeah, that did not happen. All right. So, Zillow, on the other hand, this was in the latter part of 2020. And they were forecasting 21.9% annual growth for, that's homes sold, all right? So again, that's not price, that's homes sold. You have to go all the way down here for their actual prediction. And they expected home price appreciation to exceed 10% at points in 2021. So who got closer to the actual price without going over? The Price is Right. Yeah, it was definitely Zillow. I can't say they nailed it because it was actually about double what that was, but they certainly got closer. So, home sales growth will be the biggest since the 1980s. That was their prediction. Guess what? That was right. In just a minute, we're going to talk about why it's so difficult to make accurate predictions. But on the next slide, we're going to quickly take a look at a comparison between the well-known housing bubble and bust that happened in 06-07 and then the often described everything bubble that we're in right now as we begin 2022. So, we're going to check out a quick comparison between 06 and 07, the home price bubble and bust, and what we're seeing today. But remember this, it's not really about the home price. I know that's what everybody talks about, but it's about the monthly payment. For the same reason that, again, nobody really buys cars with cash or motorhomes or anything else. It's the monthly payment. So we have to talk about that, and we will on this slide. It's also your payment compared to your income, and also compared to comparable property rents in the area, because you got to live somewhere, right? People like to live indoors, in case you didn't know that. So let's look at these stats for a real comparison here. As we zoom in, and what's funny is all this information comes from CoreLogic. So I think one part of CoreLogic was not talking to another part of CoreLogic to get their accurate information. In April of 2006, we look right here, the length of the home price boom had gone on for 14 years. And here in April 2021, it's only gone on for 10 years. Can our bubble that we're currently into go up a little higher? Well, of course it could. Of course it could. Ratio of median price to median household income, 3.3. Where are we now? 3.3. 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Back in April of 2006, 6.5. That was a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now, there were other pretty creative loan programs out there, but that was what a fixed rate mortgage was going for. Now, 3.1, yeah, here in late January, we're really looking at more like a 3.45, somewhere in there. Ratio of median mortgage payment to monthly median household income. This is what's important, because it's all about the payment. It's all about your payment, and how does that compare with what else you'd be spending your money on. So back in 2006, 25% of household income went to buy your home. Now, 17%. I know everybody's complaining, oh, homes are so expensive, blah, blah, blah. But if you really look at the home price, okay, well, and again, this was April. It's gone up since then. But we're not in that same kind of bubble territory yet. Home payment. All right, typical mortgage payment back in April of 2006, about $1,275. I'm sure that was P&I. And now, and of course, you have to factor in mortgage insurance and your taxes and your insurance. So if you got PITI, I'm sure this number back then was definitely higher. And this is the number as of April 2021. I'm sure it's higher than that. And you factor in your interest and taxes and insurance and, all that stuff. Yeah. Percentage of metro areas with more than 75% risk of year-over-year price decline. Now, this is, an estimate. Okay, how many areas were really at risk? And they were saying, with hindsight being 2020, 13.3. Now they're saying our risk is only 0.2. It looks very different. This time may actually be different. So let's keep that in mind. All right. Low mortgage rates have kept payments low. Yes, they have. So if we look back here, that's what we've already talked about, an average payment. Here's where it looks like we are right now. It's, if we went all the way back instead of just to 2001, we went all the way back a lot further, the midline adjusted for inflation and everything, we're really not looking too bad. Let's take a look at this from the Federal Reserve System. So I love this metric right here. So if we take a look here, mortgage debt service payments as a percent of disposable personal income. Okay? Here we are, right here. Look way down at the bottom. That is really not looking too bad, right? And household financial obligations and debt service payments and consumer debt payments. That's all of your debts in a household. That's all of these. You know what? You can complain and whine all you want, but it has been worse, okay? It's been worse in a couple of these areas. Now, granted, recessions followed in some of these times here, but yeah, we have been much worse than where we're at. All right. I know all this is going to shock some people, and I'm going to get some hate mail, but it's really also not about interest rates. It's about the payment. Now, I know these things sound like the same thing. Your interest rate makes your payment. Yes, I know. But it's really not. Okay? Too many people have just simply forgotten what happened 15 years ago. And it actually started much earlier than that. But when the government, both under the Clinton administration and certainly under the Bush years, they decided that everyone should have the opportunity to buy a home. And so lending qualifications were greatly reduced, and the Nina and Ninja loans became popular. Nina, no income, no assets. Ninja, no income, no job. Okay, those kind of loans became very popular. And so did the ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, with very low teaser rates, low introductory payments for the first year, 2, 3, and then they would adjust up. All right, neg am loans were also very popular, flexible payment loans, and 100% financing. Now, this was celebrated in many circles as a way to, get people off the sidelines who had been, disadvantaged, get people into homes. The result, however, was some really bad loans and a total bubble in housing prices and the eventual explosion that followed. If you think that the federal government and the Fed are not the same, if you think that they're too smart to do meddling like that again, well, you don't know your history. There is no bad situation that the government cannot make worse. It's likely that interest rates will continue to rise through 2022, but the solution from the government to affordability, especially in housing, is likely to be things like down payment assistance in the form of grants and tax credits. Then lending standards will likely be reduced again. Loan limits for FHA and VA will be raised again, because they already have. And yes, some people will be able to get into homes that they couldn't normally afford, and maybe it'll be good for some, but it will only serve to jack up home prices even further, especially in the entry level, as more buyers, try to qualify. At the same time, that housing stock and available new and resale inventory will not increase at the same pace as the demand. More dollars printed by or made available by our government and government programs, it just creates more dollars chasing fewer goods. And prices can't help but go up. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but you definitely want to be on the right side of this. Right. Please keep these things in mind as we look forward through 2022 and beyond. So, on to the next slide. Why is prediction, perfect prediction, so impossible? Well, it's not like the data analytics company like CoreLogic is full of idiots. I'm sure they're way smarter than I am. And it's not like they don't have all the necessary stats and algorithms. There are simply too many variables and reactions and counter-reactions to every situation. It's literally like trying to predict a chess game with two really good chess players with well-studied strategies, but they've got a couple hidden pieces under the table. Not to mention, there's a cat on the chessboard knocking over pieces at random. Can you predict who's going to win this game? Yeah, I didn't think so. So I get asked this all the time. Is the housing bubble about to pop? Or is it a good time to buy a home or a rental property? Or are stocks going up this year? Or should I buy lots of crypto and just forget about it? Will inflation turn into hyperinflation and make our money worthless in a couple years? Or how about gold? Or how about silver? Well, I don't know why people think I'm that smart, but I do read a lot and I listen to a lot of very smart people. Here's what I say. If we have known entities, and we do, like politicians and the Fed, they are somewhat predictable in what they're trying to accomplish. We know their moves, their basic moves, and what they're trying to accomplish there. So we have those things. But then we have market forces like interest rates and inflation, not to mention deflation by automation. And if you need some more insights on that, Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow, wow, a lot of great info on that. Then we've got things like COVID and all the different various waves of that, and then the federal and state and local government reactions and overreactions that muddy the water. That's like the kitten in the middle of the chessboard. And then we've got foreign relations and currency wars and, who knows, possibly real wars. Let's not forget the mandates and protests and higher energy costs and supply chain issues. Those are all real. and somewhat caused by government reaction to the various waves of the pandemic. We've also got government interventions waiting in the wings, like potentially more stimulus and universal basic income and price controls and rent controls, minimum wage hikes, and possibly wage controls as well. There are many levers and buttons and dials being manipulated that we simply can't know. Who knows what things will look like in a year or 5 or really even the next month? The best we can do is say that if we don't have any major changes, that the current trajectory looks like XYZ over the next several months. And that's why I'm going with the Zillow outlook for 2022 for real estate. And I'm also hedging my bets with a little caution by taking on only a little more debt, low interest, and fixed rate. And I'm making sure it's covered with very conservative cash flow estimates. I'm also holding gold and silver and looking to buy more Ethereum and Bitcoin, maybe Solana if I see another 30 to 50% drop in the cryptos. I'm also keeping a little cash on hand, and I've got a little extra food and water. I should probably also buy a giant axe in case we get zombies. So, I can't give you advice, okay? But I hope this infotainment has been somewhat useful. And please give us a thumbs up and join us again for another exciting episode of Chess with Kittens coming soon.